Yeah, good to be doing this again. Yeah, welcome back, guys. How was the New Year's Eve and everything? Good? Yeah, sorry I missed out on the New Year's Eve party. Yeah, I was really busy. Yeah, so what are we doing this episode? Revisit? No. No. Hell no. No. I cannot possibly do that. I mean, look, the man deserves to be publicly shamed, yes, and it's long overdue for him to get inducted, but I'm going to traumatize people bringing this up again. That's what the fans want, is it? I guess my hands are tied then. Alright, roll it. Everybody, and welcome once again to a new episode of the Game Show Canada, the first episode of 2023. I hope you all had a great New Year's, and we're going to start 2023 off with a bang, because this is something that's been requested before. I've actually done a written induction of this show before, but there were some details that got left out, and honestly, there's one thing we haven't done here at Game Show Garbage for a long time. We've been putting it off for forever. It's long overdue, and we're going to address that right now. Because, ladies and gentlemen, much to my dread, but because it's been requested, we're going to look back at Just Like Mom.
It's Just Like Mom, brought to you by Robin Hood, a name you can trust. Now, here's that other man in Mom's life, your host, Stephen Young.
Oh, yes, sir. Welcome. Moms and children out there to the safe show to watch, the show that doesn't give you any arguing, any fighting, any yelling, any screaming. It gives you all of them. So stay with us. And welcome with me now, my co-host, Miss Catherine Swing. Catherine.
Good morning.
Oh, a lady in pink.
Thank you.
Very nice.
I like this color.
I do too. It looks very becoming on you. Do you want to...
Just Like Mom was a family game show that ran on YTV for 5 seasons and nearly 600 episodes. The first season was hosted by actor Stephen Young, with the show's creator, former Miss Canada Catherine Swing, serving as a co-host and prize model, and her then husband, sportscaster Fergie Oliver, served as an announcer. But beginning in the second season, Fergie took over as host, and Catherine stayed on as a co-host, but had a more prominent role. Now, I thought Stephen did a decent job. A bit on the corny, hokey side, but it's okay to be a little corny for the kids. And he seemed to be genuinely enjoying the show, and the kids liked him, it seemed. When Fergie took over, well, Fergie came across as pretty fake, and there was another issue with him that I'm going to wait till later to talk about. I think you all know what I mean. The game is essentially a Newlywed Game clone. 3 teams play, each team consisting of a mom, or on rare occasions a dad, but I'm just going to refer to the parents in this case as moms, and one of their kids, except on days when they had siblings or twins. In round 1, the kids are asked 2 personal questions. Originally, they chose from a list of categories, but later the categories were removed and the questions were pre-selected. After all the answers are recorded, the parents are brought back and try to match answers. For each match, they score 10 points on the first question and 15 points on the second question. After this is the bake-off. The kids are given the name of a dish and 60 seconds to mix together the ingredients. The kids are not given the specific recipe, just all the ingredients, and a few that don't belong in there. Some obvious duds, and some that might be interesting. Then the third round is essentially the first round in reverse. The parents answer questions, and the kids come back and try to match the answers. 20 points for a match on the first question, 25 points on the second question. The game then concludes with the taste test. The parents are each given a sample of each of the kids' cooking and 30 seconds to taste them. Once time runs out, they write down their guess as to which one was prepared by their child. If they match, it's worth 50 points. The team with the highest score wins the game and a prize. But beginning in the second season, in addition to winning the small prize, they also got to play a new bonus game called Carousel Corner. Very simply, the kid would get one spin of the wheel, and wherever the wheel stopped would determine their bonus prize. A very tacked on, very unoriginal, and very lackluster bonus game. The grand prize was actually a pretty good prize, a trip for two to Walt Disney World in Florida, which appeared on 4 slots on the wheel. Weird that it's the grand prize, and it's on 4 slots on the wheel, whereas all the other prizes are only there once. The grand prize should be tougher to win, not easier. But hey, if they want to be generous, that doesn't bother me. Also very weirdly, for this, when they had siblings play, the rules were altered. Each kid would get a spin of the wheel, unless the first kid hit the trip, in which case they wouldn't get the second spin, which isn't really fair to the other kid. I mean, they couldn't have replaced it with another prize. And it just screams that they were too cheap to potentially give away 2 trips. Also making this grand prize a little weird is that the fact that it's a trip for 2. So if they won it, presumably they would need to buy more tickets for the rest of the family, namely the dad. Either that or somebody's going to get left out. And this was even more obvious on twin sibling days where it was a trip for 2. And they couldn't win a second trip. So you knew at least 2 people in the family were getting screwed. Really, the show should have made this a trip for 4. Or at least do that on the sibling twins days. So, okay, the format's a little corny. But by design, it's pretty much harmless. And it lasted 5 seasons, so it worked. Despite some mediocre hosting. But unfortunately, the old reruns have not aged well. And this is what I was alluding to before with Furry and his hosting abilities. It's because of his actions that we'll probably never see the show in reruns ever again. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, this may be the most overdue induction in game show garbage history. Roll the intro!
Both of these sparks to be a total 2.
Be an exciting contest which shows that divorced couples can still have fun together, right?
Mythological hero H-list. C. On the spot dice spin.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
I gotta sit for this one, folks, because I'm about to talk to you about a truly disgusting man. Or at least he seems to be. That man's Fergie Oliver. Now, Fergie Oliver started out as a semi-pro baseball player, playing mostly out of his hometown of Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. And his career never really panned out as a player. So he moved into broadcasting, began starting out in radio in Moose Jaw. Eventually he moved on to Montreal and to Toronto, where he became most known for his work during coverage of Toronto Blue Jays games in their early seasons. And he was actually with the team as a broadcaster all the way up until 1996. So he had a very long, successful career as a broadcaster. Sometime in the late 70s, he got married to former Miss Canada Catherine Swing. and he was the original announcer of a show she created called Just Like Mom, and even had a hand in producing the show. By the second season, for whatever reason, he decided to take over as host, replacing Stephen Young. Now, while Stephen had his faults, there were some good things about him, so I'm a little surprised he got replaced. There must have been something going on internally. As a host, Fergie just seemed like he was putting on an act. Now, I've said before with kids' game shows that hosts have a unique challenge where they've got to try and act hip and into it, as it were, with the kids. Some can just do it naturally, like Mark Summers, J.D. Roth, and Greg Lee on Where in the World's Carmen Sandiego are three names that immediately pop into my mind that did it really well. There's been some that have been able to fake it really well, and then you got your hosts that have failed miserably because they tried too hard to be goofy, like Phil Moore and Skip Lackey. Fergie's strategy to try and be hip with the kids, roll the footage. I can't even say it. Just roll it, Steve.
Hello, Leanne. I was almost going to call you Lori. How could I miss? Oh, it's very easy. You're both very pretty. And you have green eyes.
Blue.
Are they? They're not blue. Now, don't tell me that. Look at me a little closer. They're green. That fooled you.
Ugh. Oh. Disgusting. Now, look, I don't know what Fergie was thinking when he was doing that. I mean, it is just wrong, wrong, wrong. Called a sign of the times, but no. You can't do that. And I'm especially annoyed that moms were sitting right there letting it happen. I'm sorry, you couldn't have been that desperate for a trip to Walt Disney World. Or some other cheap prize. Now, I was quick when I started writing this up to go on here and try and defend Fergie and say that, well, maybe he thought it was being cute and funny and he wasn't trying to look creepy. But then I said to myself, no, that couldn't be it, because someone had to have told him at some point, whether it was a producer, a sponsor, a network executive, that this is no bueno. Alright? It just makes you look like a pedophile. In fact, there was even one clip out there when Fergie made a comment at one girl, and Catherine, who, again, I point out, was his wife, says to him off camera, dirty old man. I'm sorry, that's your first warning sign to knock it off. And I'm even amazed that some dad didn't rush up on stage and kick his ass. Or maybe it did happen, just didn't make air. Because, I mean, after all, if I ever saw the man trying to hit on my daughter like that, I'd have no problem sticking my size 13 foot up his I'm just baffled, and I'm embarrassed that this happened. And unfortunately, we let it happen. And since statute of limitations is up, we can't really do anything about it now. Now, in the years after Just Like Mom went off the air and Fergie's broadcasting career ended, we don't really hear much about him. He's largely stayed out of the limelight. And considering everything you're going to find about him on the internet now, all the clips and people jumping to the conclusions about him, which may be right, to be honest, we don't know. That's probably a wise decision. And I should note, too, that Fergie and Catherine have since divorced. Whether it was because of everything that happened on the show or not, we don't know. But he has apparently gotten remarried, so whatever. The only time we ever really hear his name come up anymore is with his daughter, Carrie Oliver, who has since followed his footsteps and has a successful career of her own as a host on the Weather Network and Shopping Channel, and also hosts a syndicated travelogue show called Spectacular Spas. But yeah, Fergie, you don't hear about him anymore. And probably good riddance. I need another drink. Okay, I think I'm calm now. So we're all done now, guys, right? They revived the show? Are you kidding me? They revived Just Like Mom after all of that. They're willing to drag this all up into... Okay, fine. Let's look at that too. Might as well. It's gonna be a long day. Well, believe it or not, folks, Just Like Mom got a revival. It ran in 2018 for a total of 2 seasons, and was hosted by the acting couple of Sandy Jobin Bevins and Kylie Evans. The new series, called Just Like Mom and Dad, aired on BYU TV in the United States, as well as Yes TV in Canada, and was a co-production of both networks. Not a whole lot really changed about the show. It was the exact same format, but the questions were now worth 5, 10, 15, and 20 points each, while the bake-off was still worth 50 points. So this actually caused a little bit of a problem with the gameplay. On the original show, the point structure was actually set up really well, at 10, 15, 20, and 25. This meant that a team that actually did well on the questions didn't have to worry too much about the bake-off. Whereas here, under this new format, a team could actually dominate the questions and still blow it in the taste test, because it's the exact same value as all 4 questions. This could potentially make the rest of the show a complete waste of time. The prize structure, well, it actually got lowered a little bit. It was now only a 12-section wheel being spun by the child of the winning couple, and whatever prize it landed on was what they would win. The top prize was an upgrade, being an all-inclusive family vacation to somewhere like Mexico or the Caribbean. But they did not get a prize for winning the main game, and the top prize was only on 1 wedge, whereas on the original 16-wedge wheel, it was up there 4 times. So it's reduced from a 1 in 4 shot all the way down to a 1 in 12 shot. And the other prizes aren't much better on there, with things like an Xbox One and the Dave & Buster's package. It just felt really cheap. And when the show came back for season 2, they tweaked the bonus round a little and added one particularly big wrinkle. If a team managed to get a perfect score in the main game of 100 points, then one of the prize wedges was replaced with a Kia car. The wheel this season got changed to a horizontal wheel, and the parent of the couple would then drop a ball, which would bounce around and eventually land on one of the wedges to determine their prize. But same idea, wherever the ball landed was their prize. And beyond the car and the trip, the other prizes still felt cheap. And it kind of felt like a little bit of a middle finger when they would take the crap for having a low budget, but then add a big prize, but make it pretty much impossible to win. So ultimately, this revival, it kind of fell flat and went in and out after 2 seasons with little fanfare. What was especially disappointing is that Marvel Media had actually secured the rights to developing the revival way back in 2009. So you're honestly going to tell me that after 9 years of development, you changed absolutely nothing? Not only is that just plain lazy, that's mind-boggling. The problem is when you revive a show and you don't change anything, you run the risk of making the format look stale. Some shows get away with it, but this is not one of them. It really needed something to be changed, and these guys just didn't do it. Now, I don't see another revival of Just Like Mom ever happening, mainly because furries kind of left the show with a bad legacy. But of course, I could be wrong. I mean, after all, stranger things have happened. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Game Show Canada. On behalf of all of us, I'm Marc Power, saying long may your big jib draw.